Welcome to the Cultivating Wellness podcast. Today we have Francess Gonzalez, licensed social worker, who has been a school social worker for the past 10 years, and I cannot wait to get into this conversation. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I have so much to talk about with you because I feel like children are my specialty and my passion. So to see that you've been working in school social work for 10 years is such a big deal. What drove you into the field of social work and then eventually into the schools?
Okay, so I would say it was my own history. You know, trauma will teach you what you need to do. So through my own life experiences, I've had various interactions with social workers, whether it was through the adoption agencies, whether it was through foster care. And so because of that, I wanted to help kids like me. I felt like growing up I was misunderstood, which I ain't gonna lie, I was bad. So I'm not gonna lie, but I feel like I was also misunderstood in that. Okay. I think that had it been caught a little bit earlier, some things I wouldn't have to have experienced. And so I wanted to help kids like me.
All right.
I also understood that I feel like in school is where you get the most, for lack of a better term, most access to really giving kids the skills that they need to thrive. Yeah. And so, that led me to schools. I didn't know any of my school social workers.
Girl, who knew the school social
I didn't know any of them. Even if the school even had them, right? Because I also realized that not all school has social workers.
This is true. But when I was in school, and you do elementary school?
Yes.
Okay.
K4.
So when I was in elementary school, I remember this magic fairy coming to our classroom and being like, hi, I need to get student so-and-so. And I'm like, I want to go with her. Like, what are they doing? So it was always that the school social worker was attached to the child study team, and only certain children could meet with the social worker. But she was the friendliest person in the school, so of course I wanted to go with her too. I didn't realize that my classmates had severe issues that needed her expertise. How do you set yourself aside from being the child study team social worker?
Yeah, man. So first of all, let me tell you how I did my internship at a school where I was only the child study team social worker. Okay. And I hated it.
Okay. That's what shall remain nameless.
It shall remain nameless. Yes. But I hated the work and only working with a certain amount of kids or certain kids because I feel like all kids need the skills that we're teaching, right? Especially in elementary school. My biggest thing is coping skills, social skills, learning to be kind to people, understanding your emotions, understanding emotions in other people and things like that. And so every child needs that. Yeah. It's not just for the really loud, squeaky wheels. It's for all of the kids. And so for me, yes, while I am still a member of our child study team. Right. It is imperative to me to be known with all of the kids. And so I do a lot of things so that every child in the building, even if I don't work closely with this kid, every child knows who I am. Okay. They're going to say I'm their favorite teacher, even though I'm not a teacher.
Right.
But they know who I am. Okay. And so that's important to me because everybody needs that. I feel like my kids are very compliant children. Okay. Right? And so they'll be the kids in school that they don't...
Your personal children.
The kids I gave birth to, they're compliant. And so they'll be the ones in school that they won't get recognized as needing supports because they do what they're told, for the most part. Right. They do what they're told. And so my youngest son, who struggles with anxiety, a lot of the times, he doesn't get the recognition because he's going to sit there, right? Or I get a call from the teacher that's like, oh, he has to go to the bathroom 20 times during reading. Yeah, because he's anxious, but because he doesn't act out, no one's gonna notice that. And so it just seems like, oh, something's wrong with him. No, nothing's wrong with him. This is a skill that we work on at home. Please remind him to do it. And so for him, a lot of the times, once the teacher is able to tell him, hey, I talked to your mom said try this skill.
Yes.
And then he's able to be like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then he stopped going to the bathroom too, because he be trying to get out of work, but that's not his point.
Do you feel like the size of the school you're at now versus where you did your internship makes the difference on how you're able to show up?
Yes, I think the demographic also makes it easier. The school that I worked at before, or that I did my internship at before, what I will say is that the Black and brown population was probably like 0.5. Okay. Yeah. And so
we're talking about students and staff.
Yeah, well, students only. There was no staff. Wasn't no staff. Yeah. And so I think that it was a little bit more difficult to show up as my authentic self for a number of reasons, right? Yeah. Not just the demographic. So also, I was still a student, and so I wasn't very confident in what I was doing at the time, and not, so there were a lot of things that it made it very, like, oh, I hate this work. Like, I don't want to do this, right? And then when I would sit and talk to some of the kids, some of the problems were not problems that I was used to dealing with, right? They were not problems that, while I know that they are valid to those students, and they are valid to people who are experiencing them, I had in mind a group of problems that just made it, I felt more confident in working with, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because some of the stuff I'd be sitting there like, I mean, that don't seem like a problem to me.
For real, like,
and so,
what are you really talking about?
Right. And so I was just like, I don't know what to tell you, because the life that I lived, not that I don't have compassion, because I do, but I just feel like it was just a little different.
Well, that's just a prime example of everything isn't for every clinician.
Right. Yes.
And I think people get mixed up in the idea like, oh, you're a therapist, you're a social worker, that's what you do. You help people. It's like, every demographic isn't for everyone. Every issue isn't for everyone. And I think that's what you're speaking to. And I'm glad you brought it up.
Yes. So now I'm very comfortable. I'm at work. I'm loud. I show up authentically myself, which makes the work so much easier. Yeah. It makes it so much easier to talk to parents. It makes it so much easier to talk to kids, and like just be authentically myself. Yeah. Like I tell people, I'm a mom first and foremost. I go to work and I'm still a mom. I'm just a mom that know a little bit. Right. Like I know a little bit of something, right? I'm gonna look at you first and be like, what are you doing? Get up, cause why? And then we can go in the room and be like, girl, talk to me, what's up? Yeah. And I'm able to do that where I'm at now.
Yeah. So the demographic, tell me a little bit more about the demographic of the school that you're working at now.
Yeah, 100% Black and brown.
Wow.
So the students, yep.
Wow. And what district are you in?
I'm in Camden.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
demographic gonna be a little different.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
Okay. Going back to not just being the child study team social worker, was that immediately welcomed in the school district that you're in now, or was it some pushback? Did you have to, maneuver differently?
Yeah. So I think that it was welcomed. I think that where I'm at now, they have a better idea of what they want from a social worker. So I was working at another school that I was a social worker, but like what did that mean? It was like there was no real guidance from higher ups or what I should be doing. It's those situations that you don't know what you should be doing, but then at the end of the year, everybody's saying what you should have been doing or you could have been doing, but ain't nobody say that when I was doing it.
Exactly.
Okay. So that was like the situation previous, right? And so then I get to where I'm at now, and there's a better idea of what it is that I should be doing. There's a little bit more understanding because the people that tell me what I'm supposed to be doing are actual social workers.
Wow.
Which is great. And so it definitely, there's a guidance, obviously. Now, in the building itself, I'm the only social worker in the building.
Okay.
And so, I've had direct supervisors that trust me wholly, and they're just like, all right, do what you need to do.
Right.
Which are my favorite kind of supervisors. Being so I'm the only social worker here, let me do what I need to do.
Right.
And I've had some that, just don't quite understand the role as much. And so it causes a little bit of tension because it's like, I do this work. It's all right. I know what I'm doing.
Right.
It's cool. And so there's been like a mixture of what it's like. In terms of the child study team, I haven't had any pushback in terms of being on a child study team or not being on a child study team. I actually love that I show up to these meetings 9 times out of 10. I'm just here to be supportive,
right.
honestly, because by the time we get here, you got the psychologist talking,
yes.
you got and it all sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher to me.
Yeah. And
I'm sitting there with the parent like, girl, I don't know.
I went to school, but I don't remember.
Right. Like, this ain't the part I know. You need some counseling. You need some outside research. I got you.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much that.
All right, good. Let's pick up there after our short break.
All right.
Okay, Francis, so as a school social worker working in K through 4, what are some issues that you're actually seeing, or what are you seeing the most of in that age group?
Yeah, so in that age, I would say the biggest biggest issues are lack of skills. And so lack of social skills. Kids don't know how to play. They don't know how to talk. They don't know how, they don't know how to talk. They don't know how to talk to each other in a way that doesn't, end up in a fight of some way. Lack of coping skills, 0 to 100 real quick, which is they're not specific to children.
Oh,
I want to be these are not issues that are specific to children. But I believe that if these skills are taught early, we have a lot less adults.
Yes, can we get the
that's walking around behaving the same as these kids. So those are the biggest things. Those are normally my focus, recognizing emotions, right? I want kids to learn that there are more emotions and feelings other than happy or sad.
Or angry.
Yes, those are it. And so those are my focuses. And I think that those are the biggest problems. The other things come, like family problems is a thing. That's not specific to my kids. You know what I'm saying? Like different little issues here and there, but the biggest issues are these skills. And I feel like if the kids have the skills, there's a lot less problems, right? Like if a kid is play fighting, knowing the difference between, first of all, everybody keep their hands to themselves to be safe.
I can't stand horseplay.
Because let me tell you, you hit me hard and it's over. But for kids to understand, like, hey, when this person said this, were they joking? Were they being mean? Like understanding facial expressions. If my eyebrows are turned down, you should probably know to leave me alone, right? But kids need to be taught how to do that.
Yeah.
And so those are my major issues.
Yeah, because we see now as clinicians, emotional regulation. We got all the emotional regulation tools and worksheets and all things. And it's like, how can you regulate what you can't recognize? So you saying, like, knowing more than 3 feelings?
Yes.
That is feelings identification. That comes before you can regulate anything.
Yes.
So I love that. What are some of the ways that you introduce these things to your kids?
Oh, man. So I do a lot. And so one of the things that I've been doing this year is I actually put together our SEL programming for this school year. And so
Tell the people what the SEL is.
Social emotional learning. And so this year we have been using a little spot. And I love a little spot, especially for our K-4 kids in my building, because it has the different different colors, but it literally explains all of the different emotions.
A Little Spot is dope, and they have a lot of different things that go along with it. It's a book, right?
So there's multiple books.
Yes.
So there's the emotion books where she describes the 8 major emotions, and then there are the life skills books, essentially, where she explains like the different life skills. So there's a little spot of respect, a little spot of responsibility, a little spot of safety, and then there's also the feelings where she explains all of the different feelings. And so she'll have anger, right, as the huge emotion, but under anger you have irritation, you have frustration, you have all of those things underneath that huge emotion. And so I love the way that she teaches it, how the smaller feelings, once they become like big enough, that's how you get to this emotion. So teaching kids to say, I'm frustrated as opposed to I'm angry, because right now I'm just a little frustrated. Leave me alone, right? Like I'm on red because I'm frustrated. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the major part. That's the major way that I am whole school trying to do that.
Okay.
Other things, I just do a bunch of things. So like other than that, I do my newsletter, right?
Okay.
That will explain whatever the emotion is for the week, but it also has a social skill to practice for the week. It also has a coping skill that they can practice for a week. It also has like the student question. So I want kids to get thinking, like I think this week's question was, if you had a magic wand, like what would you do, or something like that. But like little silly questions that really gets them to thinking still. Yes. It also has a social scenario of the week. And so there's a scenario. I think this week's scenario was actually pretty funny. It's funny to me. It's probably not funny to y'all.
Let's see.
Right. So the scenario was pretty much like, if you seen a friend stealing out of another friend's backpack, what would you do? How do you handle the situation? Right. Right. So it's like really, and I expect this to be a conversation.
Yes.
Because our kids, man, it's going to be a conversation.
Their thinking and their beliefs and their practices along the way, based on things that they experience here, things that happen to them. So, yeah, those are great conversation starters. I love it. But I am still so perplexed as to how you managed to do this for a whole school. Like,
man.
How do you find the time? How do you pick the kids? Like, how does this all come
together? So, all right. So, the social emotional learning is whole school.
Okay.
I pretty much put that together. And, again, I've read these books. So, before this year, this is the first year that we're doing it whole school.
Okay.
Before this year, I had done it in 1, 2, 3 classrooms.
Okay.
So previous years, I've been in classrooms doing it. It's like seeing how it's going to work out, like what changes I can make, whatever the case is. So after actually seeing how the kids interact with it, so I did our life skills class, which is like for our kids who, a lot of them are like nonverbal or are Down syndrome kids. So I did that. I did it in that classroom. I did it in a 2nd grade class to see like how I need to change it. I did it in a 3rd grade class to see if it needs to be a little bit adultified, because like some of the stuff could seem very, very, very like young. Yeah. Even though y'all 10, like y'all still young, but okay.
They 10 and they live in Camden. Yeah. And they're a little bit parentified.
This is true.
It could be a lot of
It's
not even their own fault. They're just sometimes a little bit more advanced.
Yes. But they're like, I don't need this for babies. Okay, but you just punched somebody in the face, so you definitely need this too. Okay? Maybe I read it and we don't let the little kid on YouTube read it. How about that? But you definitely need it. But yeah, so I'll go through what I ended up, it took me all summer to do this, but go through, actually I'm a planner at heart. And so I planned the entire year. Because I don't have time to be planning weekly. Like, that's going to stress me out. So I planned for the entire year. I had all the activities for the entire year. And so now all I do is I'll check the calendar. All right, this is what's happening this Tuesday. What activity were they doing? And then I'll gather all of the supplies that they need. And then I deliver all the supplies by myself.
You need an intern.
I have an intern.
That's another podcast.
Let's just say I've had some amazing interns.
Right.
And then I just had some that needed day hours.
Look,
you know?
those interns shall remain nameless.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's what I do for the SEL programming. Now, I also do groups that are outside of the IEP or outside of
The child study team children.
Yes.
Designated children that should be working with the social worker.
Right. And so the way I get students for those groups, right now I'm running 6 of those groups. I also go into a classroom. So weekly, I'm seeing 99 kids a week.
Wow.
Every single week, I'm seeing 99 children. And so the way I come up with those groups is, I believe that all kids deserve these services, right? Absolutely. And so I'll send home a letter. It's a little group letter that's like, hey, these are all the groups that I'm running. Let me know what you think your kid knows, because they your kids.
You see them every day.
Yeah, like you know your kids more than I know your kids. So prime example would be like, there's a little girl that like love her. She's the sweetest little thing, but her mom is like, nah, she needs some anger management. Ooh. But as a teacher, or not a teacher, but as an educator in the building, I'm like, she's fine. Yeah. No, her mom know what's up, and she know what's up. Exactly.
Keeping all that together in school, all those hours.
Yes, and so I send those letters home. Parents will check off the ones that they think their kids need, and then they'll bring them back. I will, compile the list, and then I will run groups based on that. So there are some kids that now I don't do anger management in kindergarten. I don't do anger management in first grade. I feel like those are more coping skills than it is anger management. Because not saying a 5-year-old can't be angry, but let's give them these skills first before we say that they're angry. Yeah. And so when parents mark off anger management and those, I'm like, okay, I'm going to move this kid to a coping skills group because I don't do anger management in these groups. The same with as when we get to 3rd and 4th grade, I'll do mood monitoring. I'm not doing that in kindergarten either. Because you don't know how to, what? Let's let you grow a little bit. Right. Before we teach you, like, these are your moods and this is how you should monitor, all of those things. And so that's how I get a lot of my kids, by just letting parents know, I'm here to help you guys. I'm here to serve y'all. Like, I believe in the village approach. We got your kid all day. So, anything that I can impart that's going to be helpful, let me know what's up. And so that's how I end up with a lot of kids. A lot of kids. Yes.
Can I just say that you're doing things that are not in your job description?
Say that louder, 100%. Okay?
Like, I'm listening to this. Like I said, when I was in school, I didn't know my school social worker. Many of my kids, I never met their school social worker. The guidance counselor is a different story. And some of them didn't meet until they're senior in high school. So it's like, or until it's time to turn in your paperwork to pick your class.
Yes.
Other than that, I never had a conversation or anything like that. So for you to be doing this, I just wish it was I know it's not ideal for every school district for this to be effective to this magnitude. Right. But taking some of this stuff as a school social worker in other districts, I feel like some of these things can be implemented.
Yes.
I feel like some of these approaches could be done in all school districts, but it's probably just not going to be the case.
Yeah, I think that
it's more of a personality.
Yes, because I think that even with my organization, they tell us what they want us to do, right? Which is, you see the kids that are on child study team, you're available if there's a crisis, like whatever the case is. And people who do that, that's great, because that's what they're telling you should do. Absolutely. Right? Like, do your job. But because I think that it's so much bigger than these kids, and because I was the squeaky wheel as a kid, understanding that there was so many other things going on that wasn't just me fighting, wasn't just me out. Right? There was exactly
underneath all of that.
Exactly.
A lot of people don't look at that, and I don't know if it's because we're trained to look at it or not. But I think as a whole, as a society, we need to start looking at what's underneath all of those behaviors. And just education. How do you help teachers, or do you just stay in the children lane?
Oh, no.
Because, I feel like some of these teachers need a little bit of help.
Yeah, no. First of all, one thing about me, I'm going to help a teacher. I'm going to help a parent. If anybody who's interacting with this kid, if I'm able to support you, I'm going to. Yes. Because, So I used to do check-ins, 15-minute check-ins with teachers, which was the very first check-in of the school year. Everybody had to check in with me. And we could just talk about anything, right?
Yes.
It didn't have to be about work. We could just sit here and laugh and joke the whole 15 minutes. Yeah. It didn't have to be like none of the, like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. Now, if you are stressed, great, let's talk about that. But if not, you ain't got nothing to talk about. You want to talk about what you was watching last night? Great, let's talk about that, right? You want to laugh about family stuff? Great, let's do that. And then after that, it was open to teachers that whenever you need to check in with me, this is my Calendly link. You know, hit me up and I'll take that time aside for you. Mostly because I believe that I would much rather spend 15 minutes talking to the adult interacting with this kid than having to be in your classroom, settle this kid who is now in trouble because you set them off.
Francis,
like that's not fair.
Listen, you said something that I don't think. One of my biggest things is taking accountability for your actions. And when you said you set them off, it's a fact.
Yeah.
It's a fact. Some teachers say things and do things that is so inappropriate. They treat some of these kids horribly. They say little underhanded things. As soon as the kid says something bad, now they're in trouble.
And the child's going to always be in trouble because it's a child.
Here.
Right.
So if I can give you some support so you can feel settled, so whatever you brought into school today can be managed for these however many hours. So your classroom doesn't have to feel that energy.
Yes.
Like, let's take some accountability. Sometimes we show up wrong.
Yeah.
Period. You're professional. Whatever you do as a profession is one thing. You're a human being.
Yes. And that's the thing, like, especially for teachers, like, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say I could do it.
I know I could.
Because
I couldn't substitute school suspension. I couldn't do nothing.
I got a solid 30 minutes in me, and I am done. I remember a teacher. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. I remember a teacher had to use the bathroom in this kindergarten class, and I'm in the classroom, and when I tell you these kids started crawling on the floor, going in their book bag, stealing Doritos, they was doing all the things. And I literally was like, I don't know what y'all supposed to be doing, but I'm pretty sure it's not what y'all doing now.
Right.
And when she came back, I ran out that class so no. I cannot.
No, I know.
And so I understand that teachers are under a lot of work, especially when they have more than 25 kids in the classroom. And, you know, if you have the behavior issues, if you have the kids that are not, progressing as fast as other kids, like there's a lot, and you got to plan for that, and you got to be in there for 7.5 hours on your feet.
Own kids. Bruh. Remember we were talking about the whole child stuff. You have your own kids. What if your own kids? You just came from IEP meeting with your own kids. They are human beings.
Yes.
We all are. So we're always bringing our stuff, no matter all that stuff we want to talk about. We check it at the door.
Yeah, no, that's not a thing, but okay. So I just want to be able to support teachers and for them to know. That's why a lot of the times with the SEL stuff, right? Like anything I ask a teacher to do, I'm literally going to hand it to you. I don't want you to think about it. I don't want you to stress about where you're going to fit it in. I'm going to look at your schedule. We're going to see where we putting it. I'm going to do all of that because I don't want you. First of all, I'm already asking you to do something else.
For real, something extra.
So I already feel away because I'm like, dang. I think it's beneficial to the kid, but dang, like, please. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to give you everything you need where you just have to walk in and be like, all right.
I love
and
that.
do it.
Support the whole village.
So yes, so that's how for kids, for teachers, for parents, one of my things is I'm in the front office a lot, not because I just want to be in the front office, but because when parents come in, I need you to see my face, right? So if something happens and I need to call you, there's parents that's like, oh.
I remember you.
Exactly.
The girl with the nails.
Exactly. Or the girl with the lipstick. Or, oh, you always smell so good. Like, those are the things that I need parents so that when.
Frame of reference.
Exactly. So if I need to be like, hey, I had to make a call. Or, hey, your kid, whatever, you're not going to cuss me out the way you're going to cuss other people out because you know that I'm going to support you.
In my life.
Exactly. And so I do a lot of that with parents. Also, if a parent requests for me to see their kid, you got to come talk to me first because what's up? Because the kid is only like being outwardly whatever's going on.
What's going on behind them doors.
So if you're like, my kid needs so much support, they probably do. Come here. What's up? Are you taking care of yourself?
Right.
Because I always start with that. What are you doing?
I like to support the village.
Yes.
Sometimes we do focus in on the kids, even as therapists, we're like seeing these kids and everything, and it's like, oh, come here, parents. Yeah, this is a us thing. This isn't a them thing. So, yeah. So we'll pick up on some of that when we come back. Francis, We got to close up the show, unfortunately, and I hope to have you back.
Okay.
All right.
I'm here for it.
So again, thank you for joining us on another episode of Cultivating Wellness. If people want to follow you, where should they follow you? And what type of stuff are you having on there?
Man, okay, so I do have an Instagram. It is Mrs.G _ the school social work lady. I do have a lot of things that I do in the school on there. I gotta start posting again.
All right, now we're holding you accountable.
It's been a minute. I do need to start posting again, but a lot of the things that I do in school, I have posted on there.
Okay.
And so then also
Instagram.
That is Instagram, and then also on TikTok, it's just the school social work lady.
The school social work lady. All right, so make sure you follow Francess and be looking out for her to come again. I hope to see you guys again soon on the Cultivating Wellness podcast, where we learn, heal, and chill. Peace.
All right, bye y'all.